Hi everybody, I'm Nancy, and this is Coco Chanel, and Coco Chanel and I are going to read you a story. The story is called The Library Lion by Michelle Knudsen, illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. One day a lion came to the library. He walked right past the desk and up into the stacks. Mr. McBee ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. "Miss Merriweather," he called. "No running," said Miss Merriweather without looking up. "But there's a lion in the library," said Mr. McBee. "Is he breaking any rules?" asked Miss Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. "Well, no," said Mr. McBee, "not really." "Then leave him be," she said. So the lion wandered all around the library. Then he padded over to the story corner and he went to sleep. No one was sure what to do. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. Soon it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions at story hour either. The story lady read the stories and the lion listened. He stayed for the next story and the story after that. He waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. "Story hour is over," the little girl told him. "It's time to go." The lion roared very loudly. Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office. "Who is making that noise?" she demanded. "It's the lion," said Mr. McBee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion. "If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave," she said. "Those are the rules." The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. "If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour?" Miss Merriweather looked at the lion. Then she said yes. A nice quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour. "Hooray," said the children. So the next day the lion came back. "You are early," said Miss Merriweather. "Story hour is not until 3 o'clock. The lion did not budge. "Very well, you might as well make yourself useful." So the lion dusted off the books, and then he licked the envelopes for Miss Merriweather. He walked around and he let the children sit on his back so they could reach the books on the highest shelves. Then he curled up in the story corner to wait for story hour to begin. At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion. But then they saw that he never roared in the library anymore. What a helpful lion. They patted his soft head as he walked by. Mr. McBee scowled when he heard about that. No lions are needed. They do not belong in the library. One day, after he had done all of his chores, he headed down to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. "Hello, lion," said Miss Merriweather. "I know something you could do. You can bring a book back into the stacks for me. Let me just get it off the shelf." So Miss Merriweather stepped up onto a step stool. She stretched and stretched. "Almost there," she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little bit too far. "Ouch," she said. She did not get up. "Mr. McBee," she called. "Mr. McBee." But Mr. McBee did not hear her. "Lion," said Miss Merriweather, "please go and get Mr. McBee." The lion ran down the hall. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. The lion put his big front paws up on the desk and looked at Mr. McBee. "Go away, lion, I'm busy." The lion whined. He pointed his nose down the hall. Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing he could think of to do. He looked at Mr. McBee. Then he opened his mouth and he roared the loudest roar he had ever roared in his life. Roar! Mr. McBee gasped. "You're not being quiet. You're breaking the rules." He walked down the hallway. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and walked out the door. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules." He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. "Miss Merriweather?" "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk, "there is a good reason to break the rules. Please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." Mr. McBee ran to call a doctor. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. The next day things were back to normal, almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor said, "Don't go work too hard." She said, "That's okay, I will have my lion to help me." But the lion did not come back. It was story hour. The lion was still not there. People in the library kept looking up, but the lion did not come back that day. The next day either, or the day after that. One evening, Mr. McBee stopped by Miss Merriweather's office on her way out. "Can I do anything for you, Miss Merriweather?" he asked her. "No, thank you," said Miss Merriweather. She was very quiet and sad. Mr. McBee frowned as he walked away. He thought there was probably something he could do for Miss Merriweather after all. So he went looking for the lion. He looked all over. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked up backyards and trash cans and tree houses. Finally, he circled all the way back to the library, and there was the lion. "Hello, lion," said Mr. McBee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know. There's a new rule at the library. No roaring unless you have a very good reason. Say, if you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McBee was already walking away. The next day, Mr. McBee walked down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. McBee?" asked Miss Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. "No running," said Mr. McBee. And sometimes there was a lion. Here was a good reason to break the rules, and there was a lion even in the library. Hooray! The lion's back. Thank you. Say bye.